Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timo Parker. I'm a vocal coach and I'm here to help you to improve your singing voice. But in today's video, we want to dive into another topic that you guys have requested in my last video, which is ear training. If you have missed last week's video where I talk about the most effective practice techniques, you can head over and click the link here. But I was mentioning in this video that you should spend some time on ear training. So the question might be how to actually train your ear and practice ear training in order to get better at music. So in today's video, I want to give you some exercises, some tips and tricks how you can improve your ear. You will not only benefit from it when you are singing, but of course also when you're playing an instrument. We are all musicians, and what we all have in common is that we have to have a good ear. So let's jump right into it and see what we can do to get this ear to the next level. Actually, this one as well. So let's take a look. So when we talk about ear training, we want to focus on different things here. So today I'm not going to talk about rhythm, because that's also a part of ear training, that you are able to hear rhythm, identify it, and maybe recreate it. But today I want to focus more on the harmonic and melodic aspect, so the distance between two notes, which are called intervals, and also a combination of three notes that sound simultaneously, which would be chords. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say intervals and chords, I suggest you head over to this video where I explain some basic theory. This will help you a lot to understand what we are doing here today, and also moving forward, theory can be a great support to understand what you're hearing and to actually name it. So as a musician, but also as a non-musician, we have the ability to sing a song or hum a melody even though we are not hearing a song. How come? Because we have a database up here and we save a certain combination of notes, a certain sound, and then we will be able to sing a part, or also imagine maybe instrumental parts or even full orchestra parts, depending on how good your imagination is, and we can just play it in our head without actually having to listen to a song. And this ability is greatly enhanced in musicians, because what we have to do is we have to imagine a sound, and we either have to bring it to the instrument or here to this instrument, and we create the sound. But music happens here, and that's why it is really important to first learn how to listen and how to absorb sounds in order to recreate them, and then also creating your own melodies, and you are able to produce them on the spot, for example. Important skill if you are improviser. And even though we all have this ability to a certain degree, with ear training, we want to sharpen the picture, so to say. So we want to be able to make the focus a bit greater, and having a greater imagination helps us to sing lines, to hear chords, to hear music in general. So when you get started with ear training, the best thing that you can do is starting to identify intervals. So an interval is a combination of two notes that can either be played separately, for example, or simultaneously. So the first one would be a melodic, and the second one harmonic. And most of the times it is easier to identify an interval when we play it melodically, so like this, because you can hear both notes separately, and that makes it a bit easier for the ear to catch it and to recognize it. So the way to do it is not to start with all intervals at once, but only pick two. For example, when you start out, I would suggest you start out with minor and major seconds. So for example, if we are starting on the note F, you play F, major second would be G, and you just play it a couple of times and just listen to the sound. Let's do the same thing with the minor second. And because the minor second is so much more dissonant than the major second, it is pretty easy to distinguish between those two notes. Also make sure you go the other direction, means whole step lower, and also half step lower. So the first step is that you, for example, sit down at a piano, on a guitar, on any instrument, preferably harmonic instrument, because you also want to be able to play two notes at once. whatever you have available. And you just want to start, is also a great way to explore the instrument by picking random notes and listen to these two notes. If you have the luxury of learning with someone else, you can ask this person to play some intervals for you, for example minor, major seconds, and you have to identify them. And what you can also use are ear training programs, for example. There are a lot of them out there, but you can also just do it old school on the piano, on the guitar for example, and just play these intervals at first. This would be the step one, to just get the intervals into your head. And you can do this process with any interval. For example, you would pair fifths with fourth because they sound pretty similar. So for example, if fourth upwards would be F sharp B in this case. And then F sharp, C sharp for a fifth. And I would always pair two intervals with each other. Major, minor second, major, minor third, fourth and fifth. Then I would do minor and major sixth, minor, major seventh. And at the end, as a special one, is the tritone. So for example, from F to B. And I would pair this interval with a major seventh. So you can pair all these intervals, just take one a day, or maybe even spend with one pair a whole week, and then you move on to the next one. And the second step would be to play all these intervals harmonically, so at the same time. And here we can already develop a very important skill, and that is arpeggiating a interval or a chord that is played harmonically, and we are able to arpeggiate it in our mind. So for example, if we have a major second, again F and G, now we hear two notes at the same time. And you want to be able, even though you're not playing them arpeggiated, so after each other, like this, you want to be able to hear this arpeggiated melody in your mind, even though you hear both notes at the same time. So, that's what I'm hearing. So my ear grabs the first note, most of the times it's the lower one, and then it jumps to the higher one. So it's like a little melody that you create in your head, even though you hear two notes at the same time. And then you can hear how these two frequencies jump back and forth in your ear, and you can really hear two separate notes. It's a bit more difficult, for example, with intervals like this, maybe. So this is already a great way to practice, that you try to hear it first without even singing it. And the third step would be that you sing the intervals that you are hearing. And you can do it two ways. You can either do it as I did right now, playing these two notes together, and sing these two notes. Or what you could also do, break, imagine the notes, and then sing these two intervals. And if you can do that, that's already a great achievement if you can distinguish between all the intervals, and also you are able to hear two notes even though they are played at the same time. So if you've mastered the intervals melodically and harmonically, you can challenge yourself by actually creating these intervals without hearing them. For example, what I mean by that is if, for example, we take a E flat and let's say we want to sing a minor third on top, we play the first note, you sing the minor third up, and once you think you have it, then you can play the note on the piano. And also make sure that you are able to sing this interval into the other direction. So let's say, in this case, let's take a whole step. For example, we have the note D. That's a great way to explore intervals by just giving yourself one note, and then you say, I want to sing a fifth on top or a fifth below, and that's a great way to explore intervals. So in general, chords have at least 3 notes, but today we want to just stay with these 3 notes and explore some triads. And a good way to start getting familiar with chords would be to identify them just by color. And what I mean by that is that we play triads in root position, and you'll be able to say if it's a major, a minor, a diminished, or an augmented triad. So for example, if I play a E flat triad, in this case it is major, and that you are able to say, okay, this color, even though you don't maybe hear every note, you are able to say that's a major triad. Same thing that we can do, same note, E flat, and let's play an augmented triad. Very different feel, very different sound. Let's do the same in minor. And diminished. So I think that's a great way to start, that you play augmented, major, minor, diminished triads, and you are able to distinguish between them. Once you can do that, you can focus more on hearing every note separately in your head once again. So major triad, and you try to hear first the root note. There it is. And then you try to hear the next step, the third. And then the fifth. And once again you create this little melody and just be able to put a magnifying glass on each of these three notes whenever you want to. And this exercise will help you for the next step, because now let's explore major triads a bit more in depth. And we can do the same thing with minor triads and diminished triads, not really with augmented, because it's a very symmetric structure where we always have major thirds stuck on top of each other, so there are no inversions. Aha, we want to talk about inversions now. So major triad can either be in root position, so root, third, 5, first inversion, third, 5, root, and fifth, root, and major third. And we want to be able to hear inversions of major triads. That's actually a great exercise to do at the piano. So what you want to do is play the triad. Let's start with the first inversion. And you want to be able to hear the following. Once again, you want to hear it here, but what you play is the chord at the same time. And then you can once again create this little melody, and because you are able to arpeggiate it, you will be able to identify it. And as a little help here, this is where theory comes in handy. If you know the structure of these chords in these inversions, you will be able to identify them much quicker, because major triads always have in the root position as a frame interval a fifth. The first inversion has a minor 6. And the second inversion has a major 6th. So if you hear this interval, then you know immediately, okay, it's a major triad. I can hear it because I identify its color. And then you hear the frame interval, which is a 6, major 6, and then you know, okay, it's second inversion triad. And obviously this takes a little time to get used to it and also to get it into your ear. But this is a way how you can practice it. You play triads, you can do the same thing with minor triads. For example, C minor, first inversion. And you try to hear second inversion and root position. So singing can once again be a great proof if you really hear the chord. So if, for example, we play an E major triad in a second inversion, play the triad, you listen to the sound, you stop playing, you imagine the sound in your head, and then you sing. Do, do, do. And if you mastered all these basic triads, you could also start exploring with different triads. Also a very common triad could be a sus2 or sus4. So you can apply the same exercises on these two chords, and you just have to watch out where's the major second. Is it on the bottom? Then it's a sus2, or is the major second on the top? Then it's a sus4. And you can do the same thing, listening, trying to arpeggiate the chord in your mind, and as a last step you could actually sing the chord out after you heard it. And that's why theory can be incredibly helpful, because if you know what to look out for in a chord, for example in the sus2, sus4 example, we have to look out for the major second. Is it on the bottom or on the top? And things like this can help us to narrow it down so we identify a chord a little bit quicker. So one of the best exercises that you can do, which is actually already pretty practical, is that you hum a melody that you already know and you try to figure out the interval jumps. So for example, if we are in the key of F, F would be 1, G2, A3, B flat 4, C5, D6, E7, and then back to F to 1. And this way, if you use a system like this with numbers, you can use it as a relative pitch. So for example, I don't have perfect pitch. If someone plays me this note, I can't tell you if it's a C, D, E flat, whatever. But what I can do, if someone says, okay, sing Happy Birthday in the key of F. Do. So it's starting on this note. Do. And I know it's not the root because now I know the key. So we're starting on the 5. The 5 of F is C. So this is where we start. 5, 5, 6, 5, 8, 7. Aha! And this way you can go through the whole tune. 5, 5, 6, 5, 2, 1. 5, 5, 5, 3. 1, 7, 6. 4, 4, 3, 1, 2, 1. So this is a great exercise because you know the melody already, so it's a bit less work to actually learn it, and then you can jump right into identifying. So if you don't have perfect pitch, you can just use this number system for relative pitch, and then you could potentially sing or play the song in any key, which can be very helpful. And once again, the base for this is that you have to hear it. And what I gave you here today is just the beginning. There are more chords out there, there's more stuff that has to be discovered with your ear. But the thing is, if you mastered the intervals and the triads already very well, it will be so much easier to get new stuff in your ear because you know already how it works. You can arpeggiate things, you can imagine things already more clearly. And visually speaking, you will be able over time to create a very detailed picture in your head. But in this case, it is music. And this will help you a great deal moving forward. And ear training is something that you have to practice very consistently. So even if it's just 5 minutes a day, that's already great because it takes a lot of time to train your ear. So be patient and be consistent. And always remember to listen carefully before you jump into action and you play it on the instrument or you sing it. So listening is always the first step. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you learned something from this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I have more singing and also music content on the way to upload here on this channel, so make sure to not miss out on it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye bye.